All right, let's get right into it. There's this platform making huge waves in the tech scene right now, one that promises you can build a whole web app just by, well, describing it. It's called Lovable AI, and the hype is just off the charts. So, what's the real story here? Is it as good as they say? Let's dig in. So, to really get a sense of just how massive this thing is, just look at this number. $1.8 billion. That's the valuation Lovable AI hit in just 8 months. I mean, seriously, 8 months? That's insane. That kind of rocket ship growth puts them in a super exclusive club, the tech unicorns. It tells you right away that something really big is happening here.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at that billion-dollar promise, what all the hype's about. Then we'll jump into a pretty cool story about someone who turned burnout into a real business using this thing. After that, we'll peek under the hood at the AI Toolbox itself. Then we got to talk about the reality of it all, the good and the bad. And finally, we'll try to answer the big question. Is this your next big idea?
All right, let's kick things off with section one, the billion-dollar promise. We're talking about the hype behind this AI app builder. So, what on earth did this platform do to get investors throwing hundreds of millions at it and hitting that unicorn status so fast? So, what is Lovable AI? Well, if you look at their own stuff, they say it's an AI-powered platform that lets pretty much anyone at any skill level create a whole website or app just by using plain English. The idea is kind of mind-blowing, right? You just describe what you want, and the AI goes and builds it. No coding required. I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? That's the big promise. And the speed, wow, the speed of this thing is just staggering. Look at this timeline. They start up in Stockholm in 2023. By June 2024, they've got a $7.5 million seed round. Okay, not bad. But then just 1 year later, they raise a massive $200 million in their Series A. Boom, unicorn status. That just shows you how much confidence the market had in what they were building. It's wild. And it's not just the money people. Tech reviewers were loving it too. I saw this clip from Chris over at the Build Great Products YouTube channel, and he straight up puts Lovable in his S tier. For anyone who doesn't know, that's like the absolute best of the best. He was raving about how user-friendly it is and how its AI agent is, and I quote, really powerful. When you get praise like that from people in the know, well, that just pours gasoline on the hype fire. Okay, so the hype is definitely real. But does that hype actually translate into success for real people? Let's move on to our next section, from burnout to business. This is the human story of success, where we see how this thing actually works in the wild. So let me introduce you to Harry. Harry's a front-end engineer, a really talented one, who was working in that super high-stress agency world. And, like a lot of people, he got totally burned out. So he did what many of us dream of doing. He quit, moved out to the countryside, and decided, all right, I'm going to build my own thing. Now, it wasn't easy at first, but then he found Lovable, and he called it his whiteboard moment, that flash of inspiration. He realized Lovable could be the missing piece, the bridge between what his clients were asking for and what he could actually deliver on his own, super efficiently. And check out his strategy. It's so smart, but so simple. Step one, he'd build MVPs, working prototypes basically overnight. So instead of walking into a meeting with a PowerPoint, he'd show them a real clickable app. Step two, that instantly proved the value. Clients were blown away by the speed. And step three was the easy part. He'd just upsell them on building out the full solution using Lovable. And the results of all this? Pretty incredible. Using that simple strategy, Harry tripled his revenue in 1 year. I mean, that's just a massive testament to what a tool like this can do when someone clever gets their hands on it. So, Harry's story is awesome. It really shows the potential. But what's actually going on inside this thing? What makes it tick? That brings us to our next section, inside the AI Toolbox. Let's find out what Lovable can actually do. Okay, so Lovable 2.0 is just packed with features. You've got the main event, of course, building apps with natural language. But there's also a multiplayer mode so teams can work together in real time. There's a dev mode if you want to get your hands dirty and edit the code yourself. It's got a visual editor, a security scanner. Plus, it syncs up perfectly with GitHub and integrates with back-end stuff like Supabase. They really tried to make it a one-stop shop. Now, for all you tech folks out there, here's a quick look at the stack. The front end is all modern stuff, React, Tailwind, and Vite. The back end plays nice with Supabase, which is great. It can connect all the APIs you'd expect, like OpenAI or Stripe. And here's the really important part. You can export everything to GitHub. You're not trapped. You own the code, which is a huge deal. Okay, so far, this thing sounds pretty amazing, right? Almost too good to be true. And that means we have to look at the other side of the coin. It's time for our next section, the reality of prompting, where we get into the real challenges that are hiding behind all that hype.
Which leads us to the big question. We've heard the promise, we've seen what's possible, but is it really that simple? Can you just talk to it and get a perfect app?
And this really gets to the core of it, the promise versus the reality. They say no coding experience needed, but the reality? Having some basic dev skills helps a lot. They say you can build anything you can imagine. The reality is, once you get into really complex apps, it starts to get pretty challenging. And the biggest one, just describe what you want. Well, the reality is that describing is a skill in itself. It's prompt engineering. You have to be super clear and specific to get what you want.
And look, this quote from a user on Reddit sums up the frustration perfectly. They said, "I thought it would be a slam dunk to add the Supabase multi-user part, but it's been hell." They spent 5 days on it, with the AI just introducing old errors and going in circles. It's that classic loop of frustration that a lot of users talk about.
And yeah, that experience is far from unique. If you hang out on the user forums, you see the same complaints pop up again and again. There's that bug loop we just talked about, where fixing one thing breaks another, and you're just burning through your credits. A lot of people say the designs can come out looking pretty generic unless you're an expert prompter. And yeah, it really struggles with the tricky back-end stuff like multi-user logic. It's just not quite there yet.
So, we've seen the incredible promise, and we've seen the frustrating reality. So where does that leave us? Let's get to our final section, your next big idea. Let's try and figure out the final verdict on Lovable AI.
I think the best way to put it is this. Lovable AI is an incredible tool, but it is not a magic wand. It doesn't just poof your ideas into existence. It doesn't eliminate the need for skill. It just changes what skills you need. Now it's all about having a sharp product vision and getting really, really good at prompt engineering. So let's just boil it all down. Here are the key takeaways. First, the speed is absolutely unreal. It's perfect for building MVPs and prototypes in hours, not weeks. Second, you still need skills. The best results come from people who know what they want and how to ask for it. Third, it's a friend-end champion. It's amazing for user interfaces, but can get tripped up on the back end. And finally, you've got to be ready to mind the gaps. You'll probably have to do some debugging and maybe even export the code to get things over the finish line. When you step back, what Lovable AI really represents is a huge shift. We're at a point where the AI can build the tools for us. And that leaves us with a really big, really exciting question to think about. Now that the barrier to actually creating something is lower than it's ever been, what problem are you going to solve?